Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog, which comes after a one-day hiatus from vlogging. I did not do a vlog yesterday. Not that I didn't want to do one, but I just had, I had a computer problem, or I thought I did. Turned out to be a false alarm plus something else I had to do. Had to head out early, did not have time to record a vlog. But I'm back today. I hope nobody suffered too much in my absence. I'm back. Here I am again. So I had a subject I wanted to talk about, but then we had these Mueller hearings yesterday, and I was originally not planning to say anything about the hearings. I knew they were coming, but I figured everybody would be talking about it in the media, so there would be nothing really for me to add. But as I try to do in these videos, I sometimes think of things that other people did not think of, and that's what I try to do in these vlogs, is to bring up points that other people are not making, to ask questions that other people are not asking, and provide a little analysis, you know, my aging brain, whatever my aging brain is still capable of analyzing. So the hearings were yesterday. As I said, it's been pretty well covered. Before I get to the things that I caught that I think other people might have missed, I did just want to mention one thing which everybody did see if you watched the hearings, and was mentioned, I think, in some commentary. But Jim Jordan's questioning of Robert Mueller. Jim Jordan, one of the Republican representatives, questioning Mueller, and he brought up a very good point that bears repeating. That point was that he mentioned that Mueller, who I have to say seemed out of it, I don't think he had any idea, or very little idea, what was going on in this report that has his name on it. And I think, well, he was obviously not familiar with what was in that report. He had to constantly ask the questioners to refer him to particular pages, which makes sense if you're looking for a particular page, but he did not seem to know anything about the subject matter of these elements of the report that he was being asked to comment on, which was another thing. He really could not, I think he used it as something to hide behind, because I think some of the questions he said he couldn't answer because he said it was beyond his purview. I think he could have answered them, but he just used that as an excuse. And he's an old 74-year-old guy, and they weren't going to badger him. But the question to me is that if he can't go beyond the report and you have the report, what was the point of the hearings? It makes no sense. Obviously, well, it makes sense if you're a partisan Democrat hoping for some bombshell that will create a pretext for you to impeach President Trump. That's what that was all about, because, well, they had a vote a few days earlier to impeach, and it went down overwhelmingly. So there is no basis on which to impeach him, because you have to get a lot of people to change their minds. For that, you need a bombshell. That's what they were hoping for, and they didn't get it. But also, I think that, well, I'm sure that Mueller never thought he would be called to testify. He submitted the report. He thought that was it. So he was obviously unprepared, and I think it was because he never thought he was going to have to testify about the report, because even if, as it's pretty obvious by now, he had very little to do with drafting that report or conducting the entire investigation. He was the head of the investigation, but I think it was more like figurehead. I think he hired all these lawyers and just turned them loose to do whatever they do and write a report. In fact, the famous letter that he sent, well, ostensibly, he sent, or was sent under his name, to the Attorney General, Bill Barr, that the short letter that Barr issued about the report didn't really give the right context, did not fully explain the report, whatever, which, who cares, the whole report was coming out in a day or two anyhow. But he was asked specifically who wrote that letter, and he would not answer that. So the representative questioning him just said the obvious. Well, obviously you did not write that letter, and apparently he did not, and he did not have much hands-on participation in the entire process. That raises the question of why he would go out, as he did back in May, and make a statement that just says he can't go beyond the report, refuses to take questions, did not want to testify. I think it was just a political stunt. He wanted to get something out there to say, well, that the president was not exonerated, which another representative brought up. He asked Mueller directly, can you think of any case, any situation where a prosecutor sought out evidence, did not have evidence to indict anybody for a crime, and then did not say he was innocent or whether he was exonerated or anything like that. And Mueller said no, he couldn't think of that. And the representative said, well, of course he couldn't, because there is no such case. Mueller's defense was that, well, this is unique. Why is it unique? Well, because it's Donald Trump. That's why it's unique. And the Democrats are out to get Donald Trump, as they have never been out to get any president before Donald Trump. And God help some other Democratic president that gets elected and gets a taste of their medicine. We'll see what happens then, but hopefully, as Trump says, this will never happen to another president. That's our job as citizens to, well, in my opinion, re-elect Trump, to, if for nothing else, to punish these Democrats so they don't pull a stunt like this again. But I'm digressing, as I often do. Getting back to the main point, Representative Jordan asked Mueller an obvious question. As we all know, there were several people in the investigation, and this had nothing to do with the Trump campaign, nothing to do with the Russians, nothing to do with obstruction of justice, but for lying to the FBI or the Mueller team to questions asked that would never have been asked except for this investigation, and being convicted of lying or of some kind of tax fraud, financial improprieties, whatever. But I want to focus on lying, which is what Jim Jordan did. They were charged, some were convicted. Mike Flynn was convicted, for instance. So that brings us to Joseph Mifsud. Now, if you don't know who he is the one who started this whole thing. He sought out George Papadopoulos, who was connected to her, working for the Trump campaign, to tell Papadopoulos that he had information about Hillary Clinton's emails, or that the Russians had the emails, the ones that got destroyed or presumed missing. That's what started this whole ball rolling. Now, why that matters is because Mifsud was later found to have lied 3 times, 3 different times, but he was not charged. Mueller could charge 13 Russians in Russia, but he could not charge the one guy who started the whole mess and who is known to have lied 3 times. So Mueller was asked about that, and he said he couldn't answer that, or because everything was in the report, or whatever. So that was something that I think everybody should know about. It was mentioned. That's not a new insight on my part. So now we get to the new insights, and maybe other people have talked about this too, but I don't know who did. But part of the accusations against Trump is that the Russians interfered in our election, to whether Trump knew about it or not, that their purpose was to help Donald Trump get elected. That was specifically asked by a Democratic representative in one of the sessions yesterday. And Mueller said that was true, that the Russians were trying to help Trump get elected. Now, what raises a question in my mind is that what started this whole thing going was, we had the email things, but also you had the Steele dossier, aka the dirty dossier from Christopher Steele, that was paid for by Fusion GPS, an opposition research firm that was hired by the Clinton campaign. That's a whole other ball of wax. We won't divert ourselves into that right now. But this was all done, supposedly, the interference in the election to help Trump. But this dirty dossier was about, supposedly, it's of course not true, that Donald Trump was enjoying golden showers, and I'm not going to explain what that is. I want this to be a family vlog. You can look up golden showers on Google if you don't know what golden showers are, but it's not showers of gold. Trust me, that's not what it is. But the point is, Donald Trump was enjoying these golden showers from some prostitutes in a Moscow hotel room. So the question to me is, because this came from the Russians too, how does that, the release of that accusation, help Donald Trump? To me, I mean, well, it's obvious, it does just the opposite. So you have on the one hand something that would hurt Trump, on the other hand something that would help Trump. So what was going on here? To me, it's obvious that the Russians simply wanted to disrupt the election, to get us all yelling and screaming at each other, and in that respect, they succeeded, because that's exactly what we're doing. The Russians just wanted to disrupt the election and reduce, if not entirely eliminate, our faith in the electoral process. That's what it was. So that's the one insight I had. But the second one that I want to bring up that nobody has mentioned, and this really scares me because this has deep state implications. One of the issues that was brought up in the questioning of Mueller was that everybody, all the lawyers on his team, were partisan Democrats. A number of them had even contributed to Hillary Clinton's campaign, and at least one of them attended what was supposed to be her victory party. It didn't turn out that way, so I hope that lawyer, I think Wiseman was the one who went, but there may have been another one. But at least whoever went, I hope they enjoyed the hors d'oeuvres, because they certainly didn't enjoy the election results. But that's my little schadenfreude there. So the point is, Mueller was asked, how did you assemble a team of lawyers consisting entirely of Democratic/Hillary Clinton partisans? You had to know that this was going to be a politicized investigation, in the sense that you would have one party on one side, one party on the other side. The political implications were such that it just would seem obvious that you would vet your prospective hires for political bias to see if they've contributed to any campaigns on either side. He didn't do that. That tells me, number one, that he was not really the head of this investigation. He was the figurehead of this investigation. He just turned these lawyers loose to do whatever they were going to do, and then they put his name on a final report that I wonder how much of it he even read, or if he did read it, how carefully he read it. But the point I'm getting at is that Mueller defended his decision by saying, well, I just hired lawyers that were all but four from other departments. I just transferred lawyers that were already in the government from the Justice Department, maybe other departments. I didn't look it up specifically. It's not really germane. But he just transferred these lawyers over, did not, which was number one astounding thing, and was brought up, that he did not see any reason to check them for political bias. But the part that really, really worries me, this has to do with the idea of a deep state that operates independently and is dedicated to electing Democrats and defeating Republicans, is that if he, as we know, Mueller, did not vet these lawyers for political bias and just transferred them over, then how did they all end up being partisan Democrats? It doesn't make sense. If you have a mix of lawyers of various political persuasions and various political commitment, some that maybe just don't follow politics very much, and some that don't care, some are independent, some are very partisan. How do you end up with a team of all Democrats? To me, the answer is obvious and scary, that there are so many Democrats, so many of the lawyers working in these departments for the government are Democrats, that you could throw a dart at a list of the employees and you're going to get all Democrats, because that's how many Democrats there are. That's the percentage of Democrats that are in the State Department and these other departments. And it's obvious that a number of them are not acting objectively. They are not putting their political biases aside in the day-to-day doing of their jobs. Not only are they not doing that, but since the election of Donald Trump, they have joined the quote-unquote resistance. They are deliberately trying to sabotage the Trump presidency, remove him from office, or even more important, it's over now, but trying to prevent him from getting elected in the first place. They know better than we do. It's their job, as they see it, their mission to decide who should be president, and invariably, I predict, it will always be a Democrat. So this, to me, is evidence that there is a deep state. It really scares me. I hope that Donald Trump, in the course of, I applaud that he's appointing all these conservative judges, but President Trump, look aside from the judges and look at your own Justice Department and start hiring conservatives for the Justice Department. And while you're at it, get rid of the Arabists in the State Department and the CIA, who sabotaged George W. Bush in the Iran and Iraq matters when he was president. He had taken care of Iraq. He was ready to, if necessary, we don't know what he was going to do, how far he was ready to go, but he was going to deal with Iran because of Iran's obvious, as we know now, pursuit of a nuclear weapon. But the CIA issued this report in 2005 that, well, the report was fairly honest, but the opening paragraph said pretty much flatly that Iran was not pursuing a nuclear weapon, had given up the attempt, which was false. But they issued that to hamstring George Bush and make it impossible for him to act against Iran. So you have this deep state. I'm just saying, President Trump, if you want to really serve the country for beyond your presidency, when you're out of office, you've got to do something about these, I wouldn't say traitor, that's going too strong, but these deep statists who think that they know better than us and that it is their job to save the American people, we the people, from the results of our decisions. We don't work for them, and we are not servants of them. They work for us. They work for the government. And that's it for today. As you can see, I'm getting a little heated here, so I'm going to sign off. Hope to see you all again soon. As usual, thumbs up if you like the video. Share it with anybody you think would benefit from the video. Well, everybody would benefit, so share it with everybody. If you have any comments, in the comment section below the video. You can also put a suggestion for a future topic in there. If you have a Twitter account, you can tweet out my URLs to your followers, invite them to retweet, and of course to watch the videos. And finally, you could subscribe. Subscribe, and then you will be alerted as soon as I post a new video, which I hope will be soon. And until that time, bye.